Hello Year 3 and welcome back to day 2 of guided reading. This week we are looking at the Big Friendly Giant. Fantastic work with the vocabulary yesterday and thank you for all of your uploads to Seesaw. What we are going to do in this lesson is go through our vocabulary. You will then have a vocabulary starter, which again you will not need any worksheets for. You just need a pen, a pencil and a piece of paper, and I will go through with you how to complete that. Once we have done our vocabulary starter and I've gone through the answers with you, we will then read through the text just like we did yesterday, and then I will go through how to answer our literal questions. Now, we are really well versed in this, meaning we have practiced this loads, so you should know that literal means the answer will be very much in the text for you. Don't worry, because I'm going to go through steps to success, which will include looking at those keywords, which will then help you find that in the text. So first thing I'm going to do is share my screen with you and we can go through our BFG vocabulary. So who remembers what this picture represented? I'm going to give you 3 seconds. And actually, that's not fair. 5 seconds. And then on the 5th second, I'm going to let you say before I reveal. So have a think. 3, 4, and 5. The word is, hopefully, because I can't hear you, I wish I could, you said the word slanting, which could either be a verb if you slant something or an adjective if you describe. And just like the arrow is pointing to in that picture, it means for something to be sloping in one direction. Now, if you want, you can pause the screen or pause the video even and come up with a sentence to use the word slanting or slant in. Okay, next word. Again, 5 seconds, and then I'm going to ask you to say the word out loud for me. So 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. The word is slicing, with the root word slice. And now I did say yesterday, if you are going to write the word slicing, you do not need that E. You drop it before you add the ing. And slice, to slice something, is a verb, and it means to cut something into thin, flat pieces, like that loaf of bread there. I wonder if I ask you to pause the video again, you can think of other things to slice, or even put slice or slicing into a sentence. My example might be, for my breakfast, I had 2 slices of toast with jam. Okay. Next word is, well, that picture is a giveaway. So again, 5 seconds. Give you a hint, it's not foggy, but it is another word for it. 3, 2, and 1. Good, the word is misty. And I wonder if I give you another few seconds, you can tell me what type of word misty is. Is it an adjective, a verb, or a noun? Good, it is an adjective. It's a describing word, especially want to describe the weather or to say somebody is misty-eyed because they're feeling quite sad and tearful. So it means for something to be unclear because of fog. Next word. Again, the arrow is pointing to what the word is or what the picture is representing the word to be. So again, on the count of 5, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. The word is spurt. And that is a verb because it is an action. And again, another 5 seconds to say out loud to yourself or to your partner, or to scribble it down if you want, what does the word spurt mean? It means to move off with sudden speed. So you might spurt off of the starting line in a race, or it could be a spurt of water, like from the whale's blowhole in that picture. Okay, now have a look at that picture there. How would you describe that bone? You would describe it as being very, again, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Crooked, well done, and it's an adjective, it's a describing word, and it means to be bent or twisted out of shape. So I wonder if you can pause the video now and think of other things you might describe as being crooked. I think yesterday I gave you the example of crooked branches on a tree because they're all at different angles. Okay, and last but not least, we have this little fella here, and he's looking a little bit quizzical, a little bit unsure. So before he heads off, he is going to do what? Again, on the count of 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Good. The word was hesitate, which is an action. And again, a few more seconds to think about what that word might mean. If you hesitate before you do something, what are you doing? And how are you feeling, maybe? Okay, so the word is to pause, so to stop shortly before an action. Okay, so you don't stop altogether, but you do stop slightly before you go in. Okay, so for your vocab starter, now, like I said, you only need a pen or pencil and a piece of paper for this. So again, I have my vocabulary words at the top with pictures to help. I have spurted, slanted, crooked, sliced, hesitated, and misty. So I have some sentences and they are missing their key word, which you are going to choose from those 6 vocabulary words at the top. All you need to do on your piece of paper is write the number for the sentence and then just write the word that you would insert to complete it. So you don't have to write the whole sentence out, you just need to write the word. But I would like you to be mindful of your spelling. So what you're going to do is I'm going to read the sentences out for you. You are going to number and write the word you would use. I'm then going to pause the video, give you some time to do your answers, and then I'm going to show you the answers. So let's get started. Number 1, the broken water fountain, water all over Richard's face. Number 2, the Wicked Witch had a nose and pointy fingers. And number 3, up in Scotland, the icy seafront and hills continued for miles. So what you can do is pause the video here to give you some time to write your answers down. I will leave this up here and press play when you're ready to go on to the next. Okay, so number 4, ouch, exclaimed the pupil as the book page into her finger. Number 5, the pupil before answering a tricky question on their test paper. And number 6, in Switzerland, raindrops fell from the rooftops onto the floor below. So again, pause the video here, give yourself as much time as you need to write your answers down. You just have to write the word. And then when you're ready, press play, because then I will go through the answers with you. If you missed any of those sentences, you can always rewind the video. Okay, hopefully you pressed pause. Here is my reminder. Otherwise, press play when you're ready to go. So here are my answers. Number 1, the broken water fountain spurted water all over Richard's face. Number 2, the Wicked Witch had a crooked nose and pointy fingers. Number 3, up in Scotland, the icy seafront and misty hills continued for miles. Very foggy up in Scotland. Number 4, ouch, exclaimed the pupil as the book page sliced into her finger. Ooh. Number 5, the pupil hesitated before answering a tricky question on their test paper. And number 6, in Switzerland, raindrops fell from the slanted rooftops onto the floor below. So well done for that. And again, do not worry, we have the rest of the week to go through that vocabulary so it really gets stuck and in our heads. So now what we're going to do is read the BFG once more. Again, the reading text will be on your home learning worksheet, so you can have it up for you and listen to me read along, or you can listen and read along on this video, or you can have it printed out in front of you. Lots of options there. So, Sophie couldn't sleep. A brilliant moonbeam was slanting through a gap in the curtains. It was shining right onto her pillow. The other children in the dormitory have been asleep for hours. Sophie closed her eyes and lay quite still. She tried very hard to doze off. It was no good. The moonbeam was like a silver blade slicing through the room onto her face. The house was absolutely silent. No voices came up from downstairs. There were no footsteps on the floor above either. The window behind the curtain was wide open, but nobody was walking on the pavement outside. No cars went by on the street. Not the tiniest sound could be heard anywhere. Sophie had never known such a silence. Perhaps, she told herself, this was what they called the witching hour. The witching hour, somebody had once whispered to her, was a special moment in the middle of the night when every child and every grown-up was in a deep, deep sleep, and all the dark things came out from hiding and had the world to themselves. The moonbeam was brighter than ever on Sophie's pillow. She decided to get out of bed and close the gap in the curtains. You got punished if you were caught out of bed after lights out. Even if you said you had to go to the lavatory, that was not accepted as an excuse, and they punished you just the same. But there was no one about now. Sophie was sure of that. She reached out for her glasses that lay on the chair beside her bed. They had steel rims and very thick lenses, and she could hardly see a thing without them. She put them on, then she slipped out of bed and tiptoed over to the window. When she reached the curtains, Sophie hesitated. She longed to duck underneath them and lean out of the window to see what the world looked like now that the witching hour was at hand. She listened again. Everywhere it was deathly still. The longing to look out became so strong she couldn't resist it. Quickly, she ducked under the curtains and leaned out of the window. In the silvery moonlight, the village street she knew so well seemed completely different. The houses looked bent and crooked, like houses in a fairy tale. Everything was pale and ghostly and milky white. Across the road, she could see Mrs. Rance's shop, where you bought buttons and wool and bits of elastic. It didn't look real. There was something dim and misty about that too. Sophie allowed her eye to travel further and further down the street. Suddenly she froze. There was something coming up the street on the opposite side. It was something black, something tall and black, something very tall and very black and very thin. Okay, so we are doing our literal questions, which, like I said at the beginning of our video, is questions where the answer is in the text for us. So I'm going to go through one question myself, and then you are going to do a second one before I send you off to do your activity. So my first question is, what did Mrs. Rance's shop sell? And it is on page 3, so really handy to have the text out in front of you, of course. My first step is to underline any key words in the question that might help me underline any keywords in the question that will help me answer. I thought I had more to say there. So I know I'm looking for, let me change the colour of this. I'm looking for Mrs. Rance, and I want to know what she sells in her shop. So in this text now, my second step is to look for some key words. So I need to look for Mrs. Rance and I need to look for shop. So I'm going to look through my text and see if there I can. There is Mrs. Rance's shop. So now I need to read around the key words for my answer. Across the road, she could see Mrs. Rance's shop, where you bought, here's something she sells, buttons and wool and bits of elastic. So if I was to answer in a full sentence, I could say, Mrs. Rance's shop sold buttons, wool and bits of elastic. So again, my steps were, I looked at the question, underlined the key words, found those key words in the text on the correct page, and then read around those words for my answer. So now that we've done that one, well, I've done that one myself, now let's see if you can do one with me. So now I have a true or false question. The children were allowed to go to the toilet. Page 2. So again, I'm going to give you some time now. Can you identify what are the key words in that question? Okay, hopefully you went for toilet and probably children as well, something to do with children and the toilet. So we have to look for those key words in the text. So it's on the screen for you. So I'm going to give you about 10 seconds to see if you can spot the word children or toilet, or perhaps another word for toilet. Okay, I think that was roughly 10 seconds, probably a bit shorter, but I know you are very keen readers. So I was looking for the word children or toilet, or a word that might also mean toilet. So I'm going to skim my text, Moonbeam, Sophie. Skim and scan means you're just kind of reading quite quickly because you're just looking for something quite specific. You got punished if you were called out of bed, even if you said you had to go to the lavatory. Remember we said yesterday that word means toilet. So now I can go on to my third step, which is to read around the keywords for the answer. So lavatory, even if you said you had to go to the lavatory, that was not accepted as an excuse and they punished you just the same. So if the children had to go to the toilet, they still weren't allowed. So my answer is false. They were punished if they said that they had to go to the lavatory. Okay, so this is your task. You are going to have questions just like you used to do on your worksheets, except now they are on the board. So all you have to do is on your piece of paper, write the number of the question and then write your answer next to it. You don't need to write the question because I am going to go through the answers afterwards. So we're going to do number 1 and number 2. Then I'm going to give you time to write your answers before we go on to the next page of my presentation, and then I'm going to go through the answers. Then we're going to do another 2 or 3 questions, give you some time to do it, then we'll do the answers. So, number 1, get your pen, pencil and paper ready. Number 1, why couldn't Sophie sleep on page 1? You can challenge yourself to write in full sentences, or you can just write in short phrases, it's up to you. Number 2, how did the author describe the moonbeam? Again on page 1. So what I would do is pause the video here, give yourself as much time as you need to write your answers, and then press play when you're ready for me to go through them with you. Okay, so the answer to number 1, why couldn't Sophie sleep, was because a moonbeam was slanting through the window, shining right onto her pillow. If you said something such as the moon was too bright or it was so bright that she couldn't sleep, that's absolutely fine as well. Number 2, how did the author, so Roald Dahl, he's the one who wrote the book, describe the moonbeam? So hopefully you all looked for the word moonbeam on page 1, and you would see that the adjective used was brilliant. So you could have written the word brilliant or a brilliant moonbeam. So again, pause the video if you want to check your answers, but press play when you are ready to go on to the next set. Okay, so question 3, why did Sophie get out of her bed? Page 2. Again, write your answer down. And number 4, what happened if you were caught out of bed after lights out? Again on page 2. So again, pause the video here and write your answers in as much time as you need, and then press play when you are ready to move on to the answers. So press pause now. Okay, the answers were, why did Sophie get out of her bed? It's because she wanted to close the gap in the curtains. And number 4, what happened if you were caught out of bed after lights out? You were punished. So again, press pause if you want to check your answers, and press play when you're ready to go on to the next. Okay, now we have some true or false ones. So for questions 5, 6 and 7, all you have to do is write true or false. So number 5, Sophie was alone. Page 1. Is that true or false? Question 6, Sophie's glasses have steel rims on page 2. Is that true or false? And number 7, Mrs. Rance's shop sold jumpers on page 3. True or false? So again, pause the video, take as much time as you need to look for those answers in your text, and press play when you are ready to go to the answers. Okay, so my answers were number 5, Sophie was alone. False, she was in a room with lots of other sleeping children. Number 6, her glasses were made of steel rims on page 2. That is true, they were. And number 7, Mrs. Rance's shop sold jumpers on page 3. That was false. It sold wool and it sold bits of elastic and buttons. Okay, well done on going through those questions. If you would like to, there is an optional challenge, which means you can do if you would like, but there is no expectation that you have to get this done. So how would you feel if you were Sophie in this situation? The situation meaning she's woken up, everyone's asleep, it's deathly quiet, and she thinks there's something outside. So I've given you a few hints here and ways you could start your answer. If I were Sophie, I would feel, and I've given you some emotions there, scared, lonely, worried, curious. And then you could expand on your answer by saying, I would feel like this because. And what would be really cool is if you could use evidence from the text. Now, this is sort of like our big question, but that's why it's a challenge. So I'd be really excited to see some of your answers uploaded to Seesaw. So as always, a big well done to you all, and I will see you very soon for your next session.